Tanisha's beauty supply, beauty power and style, power and style. Tanisha's beauty supply, beauty power and style, power and style. Got whatever you need.
You ever been working in your business and you are working a job and you ask yourself, when is it a good time for me to quit my job? When will I be able to quit my job? There are a lot of factors that go into deciding when to quit your job for your business. And I'm going to talk a little bit about being a beauty supply store owner, things that you should think about when you're considering quitting your job. I had quit my job to start a business. I started off with a thrift store that did not make it. It ran about 3 years, and I was putting a lot of my career money into my business. I was carrying the entire 3 years until I decided I did not want to continue to take mortgage money and support my thrift store, so I ended up closing it. I opened a beauty supply store, which has been profitable. It's been over a year now, going into 2 years, and it has brought in revenue in the six-figure range. It's doing very well. It's growing each month, so I'm very proud of that. Some of the things that I learned when it came to my journey of quitting my job was there is a leap of faith and a risk that you have to decide whether or not you're going to take it. And I took it, and I left a job that was grossing $85,000 a year as a special education teacher, and actually right at 100K because I also taught college adjunct faculty member. So I really did have a lot of income coming from my jobs in my career, but I was not fulfilled, and there was something else that I wanted to do, that I wanted to try. When you start to approach those older years, you realize that you may have less years ahead of you than you have behind you. So I didn't want to end up at the end of my life asking what if, what if, what if. So I took the leap and I quit my job. I will tell you, it was not easy. I struggled and battled with that thought for a long time. At least 2 years I battled with the thought of it. I was tired of what I was doing and the capacity that I was doing it. After about 2 years of going back and forth, I decided to quit my job. So just to talk with you about whether or not you should quit your job. Number one, no one can tell you whether or not you should quit. You have to make that decision for yourself. I can't tell you, when to quit, whether or not you can quit, but I can share some experiences with you. The first thing I would suggest, in my opinion, definitely look at the spiritual aspect first. Do you feel that this is something that God is leading you to do? Do you feel that this is a path that you are being led to be on? Do you feel that you need to follow your instinct, that your instincts are telling you that you need to step away from your job or your career and follow this business dream that you have? So you want to check within first. When God is leading you to do something, or when your instincts are pulling you, the logic is not going to make sense. And sometimes when you're trying to make sense of something that's spiritual and you're trying to make sense of it in a logical way, it just doesn't work, and it can create more frustration. I would say the first thing you should ask yourself, what is the spiritual aspect of that? I felt that God was leading me on this path. And the advantage of that was that because I felt God was leading me on the path, when it got extremely difficult, I was able to lean on my faith because I felt that God had led me to take the path that I had taken at the time. I didn't see the answers, but I felt that that was a path that God had placed me on. So when it was tough, when it was rough, when I had sad days, worry days, I could go back and lean on my faith. But if I had just leaped out there with no spiritual direction, I would have felt like, okay, I made a mistake. I should not have done this. We're looking like 5 years, 6 years later, and I have come full circle pretty much, where because I quit my job, I was able to throw myself into business. I was able to learn business, and I was able to focus. I was able to get fulfillment, inner fulfillment in my life. And now I'm back in my career again as a teacher, simply because I was able to get my business up, running, and independently operating without me being there. So now I'm free to go back and teach again, and I feel renewed. I feel refreshed. I feel like I had the break that I needed. I feel like I achieved something in my life that when I get to old age, if God allows me to live that long, I can look back and smile and say, I did it. I jumped out there. I took the leap. I did it. And look at the results. Even if there were no results, just the fact that I was able to do it. And I felt like, you know what? Opportunity is not always there. Opportunity comes in seasons. It comes and it goes. The job I felt because of my credentials, my job would always be there. I had a degree, I had degrees. So if I wanted to teach again, that door would be open for me. But the opportunity to dive into business at the time that I dived into it, would that opportunity always be there? I was able to jump out there, and now I'm back into the teaching field, and I can take part of that capital and reinvest it into my business to continue to grow my business and take it to the next level. That is one of the benefits of quitting your job and following your spiritual direction if you're feeling like you're being led that way. You have to think about the financial aspects, because quitting your job can be financially difficult. How much savings do you have? You might have some, you might not. Because you don't have any doesn't necessarily mean you can't quit your job. You just really need to be strategic in how you go about thinking about and planning for your finances while you're no longer working the job. When it comes to health insurance, what is your plan for that? Are you able to keep your health insurance from your job and continue to pay for it? Are you eligible for Obamacare? Are you eligible for state health insurance? So it just depends on what your options are. You definitely want to think about that. Some people allow the lack of health care to stop them from doing something like quitting their job, but that's a decision that you have to make, because there are other options for health care. Health care through a job is not the only way of insuring yourself medically. So you want to think about what's your plan for healthcare if you decide to quit your job. There are a lot of business owners, I'm going to be honest with you. Basically, they're in their business from sun up to sundown, and they take advantage of all of the government programs. They're collecting food stamps or a bridge card or food cards. They are on state insurance. They are collecting those benefits because when it comes to business, they decide how much they're going to report as their income. So they're collecting the government benefits while they're running a lot of times $1 million businesses. Now, I'm not advocating for that, but I am letting you know that there are different ways to think about how you're going to secure health care and things like that. You want to think about your family dynamics. Are you married? If you are, definitely you want to be on one accord with your spouse. I wasn't married at the time that I decided to quit my job. I was dating my now husband, but I wasn't married at the time. But if I had been married, that would have needed to be a joint decision as to whether or not to quit my job. If you are married, definitely you want to be on one accord with your spouse so that you can continue to have peace in your home. Are children depending on you for income? How many children are depending on you? What are their ages? So things like that you want to take into consideration. There are some people I've seen, they have like 3 or 4 children under the age of 5. No, you should not even be thinking about quitting your job, in my opinion. You just can't, not with children. And then the wife or the husband may not, well, say the wife is at home with the kids. She's not working. No, no, no. No, I will tell you right now, do not quit your job. You have to keep a job. Right now, your priority is those small children. So you are not in position to quit your job with 3 or 4 or 5 kids under the age of 5 or something like that. How much of a risk are you willing to take? Because you're going to take a risk. You just have to ask yourself, how much of a risk are you willing to take? Are you willing to take the risk that Chris Gardner took? He went homeless for a while to reach his dream. Are you willing to take that type of risk? I wasn't willing to go that far, not with a child, and I wasn't willing to be homeless either, not as a woman. But you have to decide, are you willing to go that far? But at the same time, I'm not as rich as Chris Gardner either. You have to decide what's gonna fit you. Are you not willing to take much of a risk at all? If you're not really willing to take much of a risk at all, then it's probably not good for you to quit your job, and you just may have to do both. You have to look at your credentials. Do you have degrees? Do you have degrees and certifications that are in high need areas like nursing degrees? Are you an RN? Are you an LPN? Are you a teacher? If you are a teacher, what kind? I'm a special education teacher, so I'm in a high need field. When I decided to quit my job, part of my reasoning was I knew that if ever I got ready to go back to work, I could find a job. And that is exactly what happened. I just returned to work recently, and I put applications in, and I ended up with like 6 interviews, 7 interviews in 1 week. I turned down like 4 jobs, and I was able to choose the job that I wanted to choose. Your credentials and your certifications, are they in areas of high need where when you do need to go back to work, or you want to go back to work, is work available to you? So that's something you want to think about. Are you able to do odd jobs while you're building your business if you decide to quit your job? Are you able to do things that have flexible time components to them, like Uber, DoorDash, VHO, substitute teaching? That is one thing that I relied on heavily, was substitute teaching when I quit my job, to bring in some additional income while I was building my business. After I had quit my job, I relied on substitute teaching. I relied on my adjunct faculty teaching. I kept that particular job because I could do it from home, or I could work 1 or 2 days a week with the adjunct faculty teaching. So that allowed me to still continue to bring in some income while I was building my business after I had quit my job. Do you have odd jobs or flexible jobs that you can hang on to if you quit your main job? Are you willing to do something like waitressing, where you work your business during the day and you might do waitressing at night? I know with the pandemic, you might not have as many choices with waitressing as you used to, but that's something to consider. Do you live in a 2-person household? If you are in agreement to quit, you're in a better position to be financially okay, financially stable, if you have a husband or a wife who has a steady job. When I got married, I was placed in a very nice position where I did not have to go back to work because my husband kept a full-time job. I wasn't going to starve. I wasn't going to go homeless. I wasn't going to suffer because he kept a full-time job. So after I got married, I was able to enjoy the privilege of that. Who's going to have your back if things financially fall to pieces? And even if you're married and you quit your job, you still want to make sure that you have enough money to put into your business. Let's say you quit your job, you have a husband or you have a wife who has a full-time steady job, but your business also requires capital. So you don't want to pull from the one spouse's income to finance your business, because that's going to become very, very dangerous financially. So that's why it's good to keep something on the side, even if you are married, so that you're not risking where you live, your shelter, your food, the basic necessities of that one spouse who's bringing in the one income. You don't want to use that as well to fund the business. The other thing you want to consider is time. who's going to work your business? If you quit your job, are you going to be the person that's in there all the time so that you can save on labor? Are you going to make sure that you manage your time if you quit your job? You're working around the clock, even if it's on social media, making sure that you are posting and advertising your business and really pushing your business, not just kind of relaxing. Every minute of the day, there's something to do, even if you decide to quit your job. What is your goal? Is your goal to quit your job and just work in your business all day? Or is your goal to quit your job, get the business to where it's functioning independently of you, and move to whatever next endeavor you have in your life, whether that means going back to work or whether that means starting another business? So you have to decide that my situation, my goal was never to work my business. Although I did work my business consistently for about a year, 8, 9 months to a year, my goal was never to work it. I knew I had to work it at first to learn it, to build my systems, but my goal was never to work it. I never wanted to be a mom and pop shop. I wanted to be like a Sally's Beauty Supply, McDonald's, Taco Bell, Walmart, where you don't know who the owner is, and if the owner walked in that day, you would not know it. I never wanted to be a mom and pop shop. So after I got my business to the point where it was independently operating, then I was able to say, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to go back to work because now I want to open up another beauty supply store. And I want to put more stock and more inventory into the beauty supply store that I have. What I encountered, which I did not see this coming, but it's not a big problem because it's easy to solve. I did not see, once I had gotten my business to the point where it was independently operating without me, I did not realize how bored I would be. My store is in a different state. Tanisha's Beauty Supply is in Oak Park, Michigan. I don't live in Michigan. So whereas I was used to waking up every morning, going to my business, working my business, once I moved, I realized, oh man, okay, I'm not waking up going to my business every day. I'm not going to a job. What in the world am I going to do? I said, no, got to go back to work. I got to do something. I need to be doing something. So boredom is something you are going to want to consider. Do you have a plan for that? For how you're going to fill your days if you decide that you're not going to be the one behind the counter every day, all day. And you also have to think about, do you even want to be the one behind the counter every day, all day? That can become daunting. You want to think about that before you quit your job. Are you really wanting to be behind that counter in that business all day, every day? I don't want to do it. I love what I do. I love having the business, but I don't love that part of being there all day, every day. Those are just some of the key things to keep in mind and remember when you're thinking about quitting your job. I know that's not an easy decision. And I will tell you this, it was the best decision that I ever made. For me, in my situation, I feel like it was the gateway and it opened opportunity where not only am I going to see my business make 6 figures, over 100,000 in 1 year, and that's during a COVID year. That's during a partial shutdown. We were shut down for 3 months. I believe I'm going to see millions in my business. So if I had not quit my job, when I quit my job, I feel like I would not have been in the destiny plan that God had for me. Even though my first store did not make it, my thrift store did not make it, the education in business that I learned from that is priceless. It's better than a 4-year degree. And I needed to be able to immerse my mind and my time and my attention into that business wholeheartedly, and I was able to do that, and I was able to learn. When I opened my second business that is profitable, I'm not making the mistakes from my first business with my second business, but I feel like if I had not quit my job, I would have missed out on a lot, because as your business grows, sometimes you're forced to choose. You just need more time and attention in your business. So as your business grows, sometimes you are forced to choose. So if you enjoy this content, please hit that like button. Make sure that you subscribe if you want to continue to get content brought to you weekly about business strategies, about things that will help you in your Black-owned beauty supply store. If you know someone who could benefit from this, they're grappling with the decision of quitting their job for their business, go ahead and share that content, and we appreciate you so much. And thank you, YouTube subscribers.
Tanisha's beauty supply, beauty power and style, power and style. Tanisha's beauty supply, beauty power and style, power and style. Got whatever you need.